Gil Mafteches B'Yogish Like B'Shor. There's three Mafteches, three Eitzers that only the Eitzter has the Mafteches to. There's different Eitzers that Shloime or Maila. Certain things a person himself, let's say, can reach. But there's three Eitzers that only the Eitzter has the Mafteches to those Eitzers. Shalem Nimsru B'Yad Shliach. The Eitzter only opens it himself, does not give them to any Shliach. Elohim Maftech Shel Kshamin. Rain. Tolin the Eitzter himself does not give over this Maftech to any Shliach. Then there's Maftech Shel Chaya, Dilay Amenz 11. Maftech Shel Chizam Isa. It means the Mekaris the Pasuk. Maftech Shel Shalom Diksiv Yiftach Hashem L'cha. So the Eitzter is going to be the one to open a Yitzhar Atayv. Which what is the Yitzhar Atayv? It's a Shemayim Basar Mutar Eitz Chaviyah. So the Eitzter of Geshem is Dafki Maftech Shel Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara brings doesn't mean the whole Arichas, but the Gemara brings Rayis for each one of the three Eitzers. The Gemara Mamshech Marava Omri Yisrael the Kabbalah is At Maftech Shel Parnasa. And the Pasha Gemara means that the person should have there's 11 what to be misparnas. So that's also nichlal in. It's also one of the Maftechas. Eizer Shel Parnasa. A person should have Eisher or basic Parnasa. That's also an Eizer which is Dafki B'Yadish Like Hakadosh Baruch Hu, which is not given over to anyone. The Chsiv B'Seches Yidach. So the Eisher is the one that's Nasbiyah L'Kol Chayrat. So Shaz, why did Rabbi Yochanan say only three Eizer? Eizer is Mashmi Parnasa. My time of Leikachashilu. Leikachashik. Laha. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar La. Kshamim Nami Ayin Parnasa. But Ksham is Kel Parnasa too. Ksham rain is also Kel. Another bit Pasha said Baruch Maskan the Gemara. In other words, we have four. According to Marava, we have four. We have Kshamim, Chaya, and Chesam Esim, and also Parnasa. And Rabbi Yochanan holds Pasha the Gemara that Parnasa is Nichal and Kshamim. It's not like Kula Amma. Also Parnasa is Dafki B'Yadish Like Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and it's not even B'Yadish Shliach. The Ashpah Parnasa is Dafki B'Yadish himself, not to anybody else. But L'Payel, Rabbi Yochanan held that Parnasa is Nichal and Kshamim. Chonei Rabbi Yochanan Dar B'Cholos. So even clearly, what's the Pshatak of the Parnasa is Nichal and Kshamim. It says Kshamim in a more even Klali Ksham is also called even Klali Ksham Nami Hainu Parnas. Rashi Israel Mupaid is daily man. What's the gain of rain? Not they have stam water, they have produce, and that's the Safkas of Mefarnas Sa'ila. So what's happening? What's the matter? Marav Mefartim is L'chein Manu Parnas Mafteach B'Pnei The Ash B'Chol said Ksham Him Mokal Parnas Sa'ila. I'm a company Kim Party says Parnas Shinat Ksham. Generally speaking, most of the parnas in the world comes from the things that grow in the ground, which comes through Shana. But there are Inyan parnas which does not come through rain. Certainly a person could get chiyuna based on other things, lav dafke from Tvuos Upeiris. And the Yidach Gisa, Yesh Ksham Ke'elu Shelim Regel Parnas Even Yashu. It's a rain, it's a drizzle or a certain type of rain, which is not mahani for the tzmichas apeiris matvuos. So that Kshamim, generally speaking, most parnasa, let's say, is going to be Toling Ksham. But if you're going to go into the specifics, certain Parnasa is not Toling Ksham. Someone's Parnasa to sell Tzemer. So Tzemer is Godil on Behemoths. It's not Godil on the car. It's not Toling Ksham. Generally speaking, most of the base of economy is food, let's say, or things that grow on the ground. Generally speaking, you could call Parnasa, you can be Kelo Parnasa in Ksham. But if you're going to go into the Pratei Advar, there are certain Parnasa which are not based on Ksham. So Rabbi Yochanan speaks in Inyan B'Chol. The rain is also Gela Parnas. Masheket and Marlav, you go on to the Prat. And the Prat is Prat. Generally speaking, Parnas is rain. Sometimes you have Parnas which is not totally rain. Now there's a factor. Generally, rain brings Parnas. Certain rains do not bring Parnas. It's not. Yesh Sham Gel Sheni Gel Parnas B'Fnei. Sheni B'Yod B'Nei Deruei. She's not Pres Dilana. L'chein Chashi Parnas B'Fnei. The Yamot Kumta is that there's no chilik mohusi between this and that. The Gemara says that the Mishnah says that was Saisim and the Bryce is Mefarid. So the period is not another shita. There's no 2 days of it. It's all bizarre. This is the Beit Koli, and this is more Mepharitis. But the Lashon Gemara, they mashik in the signal and Divrei Gemara. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan, time of the Kashav, like the Kashav, who Omar Loch Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan has to respond. Rabbi Yochanan's shita is, Rabbi Yochanan is going to say kach v'kach. So if Rabbi Yochanan has just a fakal Beit Koli, the Gemara should say Rabbi Yochanan, Heinik Sham. What's the Omar Loch Rabbi Yochanan? Pashas Lashon Meir, there's just come plukta. There's a machlekes of it. The H-T days means it. Okay, there is Avim in a Maskan is such as Google to Avim. So what's the machlekes? Shnei Pirs first applukta. It's a double pasha that according to the Yochanan Parnasa is Videi Shomayim. That's the pasha of the That's the Gemara says Parnasa Hainu Sham. So why did he include it in Geshem, and why did Maarav not include the Geshem? There's a svara behind it, not just a shadow of cloud of there's a svara. The Hektim Tirus Kushis on Pasham Dibri Rabbi Yechon. Gemara says in Maskana, Rabbi Yechon holds like Shamim Nami Hainu Parnas. Gemara says the Kasha, Rabbi Yechon Gufi Yamat come on that Matar Bishlo Yachid Eid we're dealing with. That there's a certain Yachid that needs rain. So Yemot, even the Schusa Yachid can be Mamshech rain. Mashiach for net Parnas Bishvara Parnas. I'm sorry, Matar Bishlo Yachid. We're talking about a Yachid that needs to have Matar Shamim, so that the Schusa Yachid is Moil to be Mamshech Shamim. Mashiach Parnas. That you need at the Schusa. Let us explain what Matar and what Parnas do. Unwissen the Hemshcha, unwissen the Ashis Pshat about Pshat that means. The part of the problem is, in order to be Mamshech rain in the world, one Yachid Schus is enough to be Moil the Brach of Geshem. But to bring Parnasa, you have to have that. So, and those are the Bechon. Come to Chesed Bechon, who is Machalik in Geshem and Parnasa? You can't say the Bechon holds that Geshem is always Kela Parnasa, because the Bechon here is Machalik in rain and Parnasa. Matam is a Yachid, the Chesed gift to Hashem L'cha, she started at the Chesed Bechon. Parnasa was Shurab, Imam to Lechem Lechem. So what do you see from this Gemara Pash? It's the Gam der Bechon, Matam Parnasa Tring. Shloime, I think Rashi finished the very Gemara. What is the taking in the bottom of Shiur? It's by the way, it's close in the Dash. So Rashi Taig, Shdi means that if only one person needs rain, Dugna. Shazara has not Zir. He was Chavisel and he ended up being Zereh, his Karka, later than everybody else. So everybody else in there already, their Zraim are in a different Shlab. They're in a Shlab where they don't need rain. And this Yachid needs rain. So that's the tzir of Matar B'Shlo Yachid. Or that he's in the city Shkola Nachrim. The male for the Nachrim, the Afin Shalom he needs it. Tzarech Matar. So this is Baba Schusik. The Matar is going to come in Schusik. What's Parnasa? Parnasa is Shefa Toiv. In other words, a tzedek TV, a tzedek which is not Yetzim Darchei Teva. So the Eivish should be Mashpia this even B'Schus Yachid. But Parnasa Shloime Derech HaLagu, a special Ashpa, or an Inyanisi that left through Schus HaLagu. Schusa Yachid, you're not going to be getting Inyan Yetzim Darchei. But not the Shevet Tzeiv, you're Michel L'chol Ha'elam, Eini Bala Elam, Schus Echad El B'Shlo Im Rav Tzirchen Tzeiva, the Shabbat Baruch B'Tvua, is like the Baruch Hu Eisim Zol. Aber Yachid that Tzara she is Baruch Hu Tvua Shalom, means he needs to have a special Ashirus. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mashana Ba'avur Yitin Hashana, El Kfi B'Chisel. He's not going to do something against him like that. ואף פי שמתו שיוחד מטר זה להשפיע תבואיסם שלו יהיו גרוס משל אחרים, אבל אז יסדה כסוד הסייבה, means to give an extra ashpah. לפי זה מובן. How does it, according to Rashi's Pshat, מטר משל יוחד means that the Nekudas Advarim is not that the Eibush is given to one person, it's not the Schus V'Yochid. The Pshat is what type of thing, what type of ashpah it is. Ashpah that's to give the basic necessities of a person, or let's say that year, there's Einstein going to say that there's going to be a certain degree of Tvua, and a Yachid needs it, for whatever reason it is, he was late or he's in the Year Shal Nachrim, the Eibush will mashpia this basic ashpah for the Schus V'Yochid. But the Mamshech La'elam and Yanim Shalei B'Derech HaKol, Shalei B'Derech HaKol. So that, you need that for Schus V'Yochid. And if a Yachid needs to have a Seiva B'Yochedes, he needs to have a Bracha B'Yochedes in this Tvua, his Schus alone is not going to be enough. To be Mamshech Ashpah, Shalei B'Derech HaKol. Is it touch that? But that's not, this Gemara is not what's negate that Shasad at all. Everyone just wants to make up a mirror. What is Geshem? This is another name of Rabbi Yechon on the Hemshech of the Gemara, which he quotes Matar and he quotes Parnasa. And the types, so we have a different types. What Geshem, what Parnasa, what Parnasa is. The Matar, in this name we see according to Rashi, that Matar means Ashpa, which is Gederech HaRabbi. How the Eibush is Mashpia Chayes to the world in the Seder Rabbi. Mashiach Parnasa means Ashpa Ba'ifim B'Yuchid. That's what's negated after this Gemara. So if he's a mover, like a one of the Parnasa Sham, is the Shefa B'Yuchad Shu Ba'ifin the Seder. If he became mover, the Rak Ba'ifin Zeh, Parnasa Matar Bezin B'Din. If you're talking about a Parnasa Regila, that's Nechel Matar. If you're talking about a Parnasa which is Yetzim Naklal, it's a double Parnasa. So what the Gemara says before that according to the Echlan, Parnasa is Nechel and Shamim, that's Parnasa B'Derech HaRagel. But Parnasa Yetzim B'Derech HaRagel is not Nechel and Shamim. Yeah, they can place it. That's the Rashi's Pshat. Chodesh HaGodes Marsha מפרש מוטר שוויין רוצה פרנסה וניתן בטבע בין השמיים יש בצדק ליוחד ניסי בסחוסי. פרנסה גופי בין שטבע בין השמיים כי למון והבהיר ודוב ניסי ולי ברק בשברה. Yeah, the same Lekoda, but the Marsha teaches is Parnasa Shabbat means if the Eibush can get Parnasa not through what they thought it is, through a nest. Like it was water that came to Elish and Miriam, so it was not water from a stone. So that you need Asur Salah. But Nikud is the same. Pisa Yev Shalavar, Achilik and Dasha Bechon of Neimara. The Bechon is going to Shalom and Ani Parnasa and that were Parnasa Regila. So what's a mafteach that only the Eibush, what's an Eish that only that only the Eibush has a mafteach? That's Parnasa Regila. Loi Be'efon Shal Sefer Miyucha. So we're talking about a Parnasa which does not come in a way of a nest or in a way of a bracha miyuchedes. But let Parnasa above everything about the Umayim. She'en kemar lo avod echash vi Parnasa b'fnei atzmei koi vi Parnasa she hashpa miyuchedes v'nei Kadosh Baruch Hu she'en ba'al b'shvolah. But the physical tayr is that it's like a machlokes. The B'yechanan, the Gemara says the B'yechanan Parnasa hainu ksham. The Gemara means to say that the B'yechanan is only kailo hat the gush maftech the Kadosh Baruch Hu only Parnasa to give him. Mashiach na yetz eisman aklal they should go give the rosh there. And Parnasa Sfeir, that's what comes out from this. Al-Fiza Tank Kushis Gemara. The Mashmas Gemara is not that the being chelik in Tzias. Mashmas Gemara is that the being chelik in whether it's Meftech Shal Kishbar or not. The place Gemara is whether it's going to be killed or not. So this part is a Shver Pshat. Al-Fiza Tank Kushis Gemara. Ve'ich Matam Alam Leik Chosh B'lah. Hainu Medu Chosh B'lich Merak Parnasa Chaz B'Kshamim. Ve'in Kanal Gil Meftech is Leik Chosh B'Meftech Chaz Parnasa Shein Chaz B'Kshamim. Meftech Parnasa Shba'am Me'Hashem V'Lim Shu B'Hashem. Because there's no habit in it to say that Rabbi Yochanan and the Maarav are being chelik for Gabi which in Yonam are B'yad Shalkish Baruch Hu. So according to this view, would come out according to the Amshel Gemara that the Parnasa which the Maarav is speaking about Rabbi Yochanan is takanat kelo. Why Taka wasn't the kelo? Why doesn't he take a mention? Because this is a beer which is also not almost interesting. Zayin gets right. It's the front door is negate. Here's the Rebbe's beer of what was Bashtet. So the Kula Alma, according to the beer, according to the Amshel Gemara, the Kula Alma Parnasa Kshamin is the Yadish Lakadosh Baruch Hu, which is not Nitana Gishlev. The question is why Rabbi Yochanan included Parnasa and Kshamin. Mashiach and Maarav made Parnasa a separate matter, a separate thing. What's the shayla? So let's get to the Rebbe Matzah. Chen Elolim, Rabbi Yochanan and Maarav and Medak and Shneim in this Eisei Suk Parnasa. Wie nicht mit Gott früher. The Pligi is Svarah. Whether Parnasa tzricha maftech miyuchat and echlaz maftech t'kshan. What's the beauty of that? Kshamim Parnasa b'derech klal in tearim la'ashpas mozin v'tzorch yod. Kshamim is not only rain, literal rain. Kshamim and Parnasa both are milim which are metayr hashpa for a person's there's a kind of level. It's tzorch. All this necessities in the Kshamim. Lo says metayr artz chabayit metayr is not only literally rain. All the person's needs. The basic needs is brought out to Kshamim. The Kshamim is al hashpa is gashmas. So why? What's the two terms Kshamim and Parnasa? Achilik b'neim with Kshamim meira al hashpa saparnasa mamayla. Kshamim weiß that what the Eibush did and a satik yishmei chabayit. Parnasa b'derech kol ba l'tayr is kamolas hashpa. Such the Eibush give me the hashpa. The Eibush is not shpa bracha. How does the person get the bracha l'payil? Say in the Pashta case, there's let's say you do Keres and Nefesh. So the Keyach Hariyah that comes from the Nefesh, or the Keyach Haseva comes from the Nefesh. But you have to have a Kedi, the Kabbalah, how the Keyach Hariyah should be able to be played. It's not enough that the Nefesh is a resource for Keyachas. Then you have to have Yivardim, which there's a Gufa which is Mekabel this Keyach, and then it's going to use it in the Hesed, the way this Keyach is able to, the way this Keyach is going to use it. So besides with Ashpaz, Bracha Mamayla, the Adam has to also be a Kedi to be Mekabel this Panas, and to take this Ashpa and to use it in the right way or to bring it out. There's a musik of Kabbalah Sabanas. It's not that where a person sits and the Eibush gives it and everything works out. The person has to do something. Now he's not doing something to create Ashpa. He's doing something to Kabbalah Ashpa. That's Parnasa. Parnasa is not going on the Ashpa and with the touching here. Parnasa, when you speak about Parnasa versus Kshamim, we're speaking about the Kabbalah's Ashpa l'um as the etzem the sin of the Ashpa. So how it's processed by the person. The air nentis. Without the person getting anything involved. But she can Parnasa about that in this close up. When we speak about they were saying Sham Parnasa in the general term of the word. But that's masim with what Sham Parnasa is literally. Rain, the Gashmi is a person can't create rain. The Eibush gives rain. And the person doesn't have any involvement in it. And the rain is much better, the rain does. The person doesn't do anything to activate the rain. The rain comes from my land against Matzmiya. Mashiach Parnasa, I mentioned that. If the work and they're going to talk about it, Parnasa means literally a person's business, how he makes income. So that's Befin Brot. Out there, as we speak Befin Kloli, Parnasa is Mavat any in the way it's discovered to the person. His name in Kabbalah Dashba. And Kshamim is Mavat and the Sinas Abraham. So once we have this, so this is the Shaila is what is this a new beer in the Gemara, what Ksham means, what Parnasa means. But the Gemara is saying, so the Fizeh, about Zen, this understand as far as the Machlikas. The Fizeh, Chilik, the Rebbeich, the Rebbeich, the Rebbeich, the Rebbeich, how Paramafteich is like Dvarim, Kvish, Ben Magich, Mesik, the Dvarim. There's Dvarim. Which Dvarim? There's the Hashpah Mamayla. That Eitzis, that the Hashpah Mamayla is the Yodish like the Dvarim. But that from these things that come from the Eivisha directly. That there's no involvement of myself. Things that the Eivisha gives directly. Rain, life, Parnasa, but Parnasa, that aspect of Parnasa that a person can't activate. That comes from L'mayla. A person can make a business. The business is only a keli. That Shloime comes from L'mayla. So Rabbi Yochanan read, but the Eivisha gives. The Parnasa, that's the Nesin of L'mayla. And if them something, that's the Yadish like the a person can't, that's Inyan, that doesn't give over to the Shloime. ולכן חושב רק שומם, ולא פרנסה. שאין פרנסה השפעה של הקדוש ברוך הוא מצד עצמו. וזה יביא לסו אדם שהשפעה של הקדוש ברוך הוא תסקבל אצלך. Yeah, the Eivisha Mashal, they say the Pashta Ka'efim, Shoshana, the Eivisha Gemach didn't becheshen that this person is going to get to face this and this and this hashpah. But in order to get it, he has to make kelim, or whatever the Burim are, there's Allah Barach Hashem Lakah V'chol Asher Tasa, the person has to do something in order for this hashpah to be niskabel by him. So Rabbi Yochanan is gered, and the kayach to do your aveda in order to make your kelim also comes along. Our nish beged Rabbi Yochanan gered. That's a different type of eitzah. An eitzah that gives the person the kayach that he should be able to be mekabel dashpa. That he should do ma'asim, which should be a kelim for dashpa. Rabbi Yochanan nor gered beged the well, there's going to explain later what's the svara one. But about these things which come directly from dashpa u'mayla, and that these are things that Rabbi Yochanan is born. Ilu marov medaber gam kfi shu mitzad mekabel. Fishashpa samaz and nasis parnos means what the Eivisha gives becomes roy and masim to be discovered by the person, and the care to do that also comes by. So in every say a person has a business. The fact that he's making a shpa from his business that comes by, and that's nichla and rebechim. That's ksham. That's the nisim. But the fact that his kelim should be mitzvah. You should have the kayach to make kelim bezat. There's what the person is doing. However way you can explain it, there's what the person is contributing in the ashpa. He's not a person. The Padah said that for is that a person has to do something. There is not the magdir here. What's the mohosiyah? What the asik adam is? But besides the ashpa, I mentioned at the start. And this asiyah sa'adam is also the kayach momayla. But the machlekes is whether that's nimna in this group of gimel yitzharos. There was mazal isnam. There are a few years that move on that to the mispar mafteiches. The Reichman starts off gimel mafteiches. There's 4. What's the deep 3 and 4? Because the base is gimel and dalid is gimel is mashpia and dalid is mekabel. Chiluk is gimel is dalid. Gemara says in Shabbos that that's gimel dalid. Hanisha is gimel meira like gerim hashpa. A gimel kasab. The source of the hashpa, the mashpia. He's dalid meir ala dalid mekabel hashpa. How the hashpa is niskabel and niklat by the mekabel. Which for that you have to have some aveidim inside the mekabel, or a matzah with the mekabel. Epis neged the mekabel, not only the giving momayim. Was para eifin steht the mekabel, and the gedem Inyan does it bnei Maamarim. But he's dalid meir ala mekabel hashpa. It's a move not neged like a matri shel is a mispar gimel mispar dalid. That's neged to the tzudas is, or when you get to the shema is. The Word Shabbos speaks about the shema is. The shema is gimel, and the shema is dalid is made on. But other places it's also mevayed that it has to do also the tzur of gimel and dalid, because the kav of the dalid is tzur of hashpa, and the dalid has a kaitz on the kav. But here everything is also connected to the mispar 3 and 4. Mispar gimel made on sina, and that's when Yishim Zav Nesim. The dalid and Yishim Zav Mekabel dalid. There's the nikud, there's the mashpia, there's the nikud kavsheta, and then there's the sheta Mekabel. There's 3 and 4. Dalid cases. 3 months is the Ashpa and the yain is the klita inside the cup. Good, that's all. Now let's get the master of the it's a simple sample. eins oder Pische Technik, wo es ist, wo der Matthias schon Leben zu dir steht. Haynu, Shiger, Maftech, Seidu, Heim, Shikulim, Bayim, Yasek, Baruch, the Inyan, what's the answer? Everything comes from the English. What's the Yehudis of these three things? That there's no more, it's not Nimshach through someone else. In Kain, now, I finished Manova, Omri, Yafatech, Shabanos. How can you Mechash Parnas, according to this beer? That Parnas means that Vedic inside the Adam, that's good for someone. Shchishu Parnas, Maftech, Nazi, Mish Parnas, Dabra, Top, Shach, the Adam. If he's a Echa Shalem, Shadam, Maftech, Shach, the Shach, the world. The Maisa Adam is by definition a Mutza. Was the Ashpa. The whole vertical of Baruch Hu is that the Ashpa comes from Maila Anashvir. Avedis Adam, what he has to do in order to be Kabbalah the Ashpa, he has to do it. That's his status. That's the Chol Mutza. So that's a still the second of the Ashpa. Thank you.
When you say that the craft he has to do his business is from the Abishter?
Understand, but the Chol of the word is. But the pearl, this inning comes through the ashpa that comes is through his ability. So the kayach that he has to do it, the kayach that he has, not saying the kayach that he has to do it. The protein yoni akim. I was actually going to know that it's the kayach that he has. It was not actually the kayach that he has to work. The person has a kayach that's nowhere. So maybe he could move a bench. We're talking about the gabi this lavush, the gabi this kedi that he's doing. The gabi is kabanas. So the Gabi Ezik Parnasa that the Parnasa should be in a skabel, there's a Ashpa Mamayel. Okay, a special Mafteh Mamayel. There's a Niskabel, this Inyan of Parnasa being Niskabel by the person, that he has to do something. So it is an Inyan which goes through the Mamutz of the person. So this Inyan of Parnasa being Niskabel, why the Nikabel, is something which goes through Mamutz. The Abed the Sodom.
So there's one Kabbalah, and there's the fact that he's able to be
Nikabel. יש דבר זה באקט, לא היית גופים. זה בין interessant, זה ספר. יש דבר זה באקט, מה שגירו חז"ל, ואין יריד אז קשרים שבו המאמר. Why talk, at the Evish זה eingestellt, other things, the person who's, you have cows and sheep, whatever you have over here, I don't know the things that exist in the Maza. Person goes, if you're efficient, you can machen, bayin, shafen, and you can open up a business. You don't have to there's nothing that you go do things. Mashegin Kshamim, you can't activate Ksham. You can't do it. You can't create Ksham. Oil, you can take, you can find oil, you can find this, you can find that. Ksham, you can activate. It's good to mind. Boston says it. So steht in Chazal that everything would be in a way that you could just ice out in the 8 sardis you have here in the Lohazah, don't forget Nasadan Ebershter. You're not dependent on anything. And you could develop anything on your own. So people should be dependent and remember that so the fire, the eingestellt that Ksham calls them. Okay, but that's the message. But the Rebbe wants to take up from the message something else. Because as what understand as the Poil, the Pashas of what it is. What do we see by the Rebbe wants to bring out from this message is as a statement that what's the Pashta of the message. If everything that a person is in order to be matzliach or something, you have to figure out how to use this and this. Anything you have resources here, you just have to figure out how to use them and develop them. It's going to work out, so you wouldn't feel dependent. You're dependent. You have the abilities to do things, and you do it, and you're able to live. You have one thing, which is a very basic thing, that there's no way for a person to activate. That's the comment. Mainly, you're forced to turn to the English. There's the Sant Pshat. The Torah says that it's not stamped. We're doing one thing you should remember. The Yeshua wants people to be dependent on him. Doesn't want people to live if it doesn't want people to live in a false reality. The MS says that even the things that you are doing, that you are developing on your own, really it's coming from Allah. It's not that those things you develop on your own, and available for it. See, the father wants the kid to always remember it. So he keeps one part of the business that the kid has to ask his father just to do it. Because if the kid's able to do whatever he wants by himself, he's going to forget about the father altogether. So he keeps one thing that you have to have in your mind. Usually the Netzah. That's not the Eibush is not looking for people to be find ways. But the emes says that everything is the father. In order that the kid should always be aware of the emes. So there's one thing where the emes is Meir B'Godli. But that emes is Meir B'Godli in one thing, that's the truth, they can be everything the person does. The Meir B'Kumta is, if Chazal is, so the Eifen Ashpa, when a person is going and building a business, Yivas HaMensh took the Derech HaTevah. in order to be Mekabel Hashpah. The Eifen Hashpah Mamayla is Al Derech Liksham. That's the story. Al Derech Liksham Mamash. That's the other text. Claim. Zeh Shem Nusatim Shel Abri is Tuli Liksham Aboyam Mamayla. V'loi B'davar Sheyesh B'dei Adam Atzmi Lasis. Kemei Sheyesh Kosel Tzei B'hi B'Raglecha. Pel B'Makar K'Deboy Yishim Kol Parnasos B'Chayis. L'Liksham Ki Alei HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Atzmi B'Dugmas L'Geshem. That's going to get the answer. The doing is like Geshem. So what do you see by Geshem? You see what part of the must be. What do you see by Geshem? A person can make a mistake and think that the world is independent, it's found and felt, and if you're smart enough and you have the sharias and the find out where there's gold, they'll dig gold find for gold. It's very aggressive. That way you need the English. The MS is nishas. The MS is everything comes online. The fact that a person gets any ashpa comes online, but for a person has to be a kid. And the Kalim is telling in his, but here there's going to be a Tesefes Havana in Vasba state. Once you be midama, that the fact that I'm going to be able to make all that Zadar Kshamim, so that gives a different Havana in what's the Chshidus of making the Kalim with that. The fact that Chazal is midama the Geshem. What's the point of making one thing in the world that we should remember that one thing where the emes is near Regalim? So the emes of every Ashpa that comes to that person is al derech Geshem. Which Geshem, you have no way of activating. And Geshem is even the Kalim are they follow Maya. Everything comes from Maya by Geshem. The point of Geshem is not smear. You don't need to have a full institution on Kalim. So that's going to explain to us the Gabi everything that a person does, that the emes is just like Geshem. There's not beginning by Geshem, it's beginning, but it's not much like Geshem. Okay, we'll do it. Zuig of Master Yisrael Shana. Yisrael Mashke Zugish Baruch Ba'azim. They call it the Shlich. But Yisrael was the Selim Tar Shemayim. Was the Selim Yisrael and it means rain. So Yisrael Nikar Begodish Kol Hashpah Sechayis Al Mali Ach Barak Adek Baruch. They were saying also we have to call it. Yisrael the Kiyum is a Nisi. So there it's mere Begodi that all the Chayis is Adek Baruch. There's no way for a person to contribute anything. Mashiach Bechol Efshir Lintos. Sheyesh Tfisa Smoking Gam L'Shliach. You see there. Dort für das Smoking ist der. Der Gamle geschehen ist mal so. Kann machen ein Tor so kurz dort zu meinen, that there's a für das Smoking is mal so. Everything goes normal. But there's also it's the Geya the Makabel's cave. You want to use a classic dugma, we say in the Mashal Manem the pile a person the eyes can't see on the road. Can I read this from the Mashal Manem? The pile in order for the Khariyah to work here in the Hazard, it's totally also on the echos of the ayin. If the eyes are going to, if the person is, if the maya, the kalim, the ivarim are not used after saying, so the keach can't be mislavish well, and it's not going to be affected well either. So not everything that's not the makir, something which is a keli doesn't mean that it's not the smoking at all. Certain kelim are very much like the smoking. So the Eibush is all hashpah comes to mind. The person should be able to live and should be able to have an outcome from the Eibush. But the pile, in order for the panas to be nichach there has to go through the keli of a person doing the opening of a business. So that's going to make a difference. A business that's going to be more apiteva, more of a keli to bring in more parnas. There'll be a keli for there. A keli which has less, which can't make an income, will be a less of a keli for there. As able to kind of understand how So even though the whole Aveda Sodom is only a keli, but the keli has it is nothing. That's a toast. Because Avdem Zan Chazal Medame to Geshem. And by Geshem, there's no Geshem comes fully in the Mailand, it's not totally in anything. It's not totally in the keli. If the rain comes on my land, a person can't do anything. You're going to make the ear, it's not totally, the whole thing from beginning to end comes on. And there's nothing that a person could contribute. Mashiach, if you, on Geshem, even a Yid Amayim, there's not saying Yid Amayim, the Zohar is going to say that everything comes from, even a Yid which is going to be aware of the fact that everything comes online. But look, there's also a Tizas Magam to the person's mind. At them, the Frank Geshem, that's the intention. Before the Rebbe touches up the Prat, the Rebbe goes back to the Hamshach to the Gemara, but the Rebbe adds the few Prat. This is an important point for them. Zembo gam lininin realization of the action. Linin so the Shliach Pirush Shibe Emes and Ksham also means Parnas. Means the Rebbe is hard attaching the Gemara Ksham, not literally me. The Rebbe is attaching Ksham B'chlal Ashpal. Even things that you do have to make. What's the truth of this? And that's the pshat. It does build the Gemara is bringing. Like Shem Pirushi, Shibe'emes kol parnas to Adam yach v'rak ma'akedesh baruch. And was bei Eifensch ain't Tfisas Makom, there's shum davar chutz mimenu. There's no Tfisas Makom, there's no kelim garnish, there's no Tfisas Makom to anything. Gam leil bush yadam shada eisa, kedei shayadam yichol lekabel parnasas mimenu. So not that he thinks that the parnasa is the one that creates the ashpa, but the keli is also Tfisas Makom. A better keli is going to be more ashpa, unless he doesn't go slow. It's like the Rebbe Nish does it. What the Gemara says that parnasa is mafteich shlagir, but doesn't go through a shliach means I b'chol parnasa does go through a shliach. It goes through a moment. The Teres says it does not go through a moment. It's the dugmas the geshem it doesn't go through a moment. Means the inyan mitzad atzmi, the ashpa mitzad atzmi is given for the Eibusha. There's no, doesn't make a difference at all. There's no ashpa klal what the person does. The Eibusha wants this person to make $100 there. Doesn't make a difference. For him to get his money there, there's no need for any mice in tzadal. As he pulled the Eibusha is not looking at anything. The Eibusha wants, where does it?
So it doesn't even care.
Shoot, doesn't need anything. Mamash like Eibusha. The Eibusha needs a kid. The Eibusha doesn't need anything. As if they go both. The Eibusha says he wants that this person should make $1,000. The Eibusha is literally, you have to make a kid. So the shaila is, V'zesh yates adam l'podim l'avdasi aviyar. The Pasuk alone says that it's not that the person wakes up in the morning and mitamo, the bill starts flashing in his room without doing anything. That doesn't understand. So there says, that's only if it's considered a mitzvah. Not a better like when you get to a person with a burden, that the fact that the Keachadiyah, when you get to the burden is different. First of all, in order for the Keachadiyah to happen in this Siyah Daragashmi, it has to go through the Mamutzah. Keachadiyah Ruchnis cannot see the Daragashmi. It has to go through the Mamutzah of the Daragashmi. And that's one thing. It means the Keachadiyah itself is not self-sufficient. It has to have a lavush. And also makes it mitzvah type of lavush. Mashiach, the Eibusha doesn't need anything. The Eibusha wants this person to be full. He wants this person to have a pile of rice. Hocus can bear a pile of rice. That garnish is talking. And not only with that garnish is talking. The parnasa comes from the Eibusha himself. That dargin of the course, which the guy with that, there's no tefisas lakim below. There's no say there about no tefisas lakim below. Check it out. The nervous earthquake. So what's the pshat that you have to do a kid? As it is, there's a class. The Eibusha gehasen that we have to make a kid. Not that the Inyan is mechayiv a kid. As it gehasen.
It's not a stalshus, a kid doesn't.
The Rebbe is not going into the darkness, but the Poel says it sometimes that it's not a lower dark. The Chitzayim is at least. So the reason why it has to be nimshach through levushim, because it has to be in the Slavish in a way, behesed to certain dark. There's a gather of teva, and inside teva things don't just happen out of nowhere. But they're saying inside that Amitis in Inyan, there's the Eibusha himself. There's what he wants. He created that. Why doesn't it say what?
How do those two things work together? I mean, it's
not lower dark.
Yeah, it's not lower.
That's nothing. But the Rebbe is saying here, the way we're learning it here is, the Rebbe is saying the Eibusha himself decided, we're learning it Torah now. So on one hand, we're saying the fact that the Eibusha is Masatah, the Geshem, goes on Ma'ala Shteit and Chazal, because everything is like Geshem. Which means that everything goes on Ma'ala, there's no need for Kedim. But when it comes to Geshem, you see, the Hashpah comes on Ma'ala. The Eibusha also has to, he needs people to do something in order to help him bring the Hashpah down the Gashmis. It happens in Eibusha. And Allah says in the Siddur that Geshem has nothing to do with, there's no way, I mean, I think in Madas or in Sanders, but the Torah says the weather is not totally how far the sun is. It's not a nun which you could that means that Teva comes to Smash B'Zeh. Fully in mind. There's no Slav Shastal. They should go all to get that right. And Al Derech Zeh, all Hashpah Savarnas is like that. Why did the Eibusha play? Why do you have to make a Labush? As in the Eibusha case. Not that the Eibusha needs this Labush. There is not going to explain now, from this point of view, why do you need Shtashvus? That's not the discussion. We'll see later. That's not the discussion.
Why are they connected? Why did that? If you're not going to do the tzibur.
As in the Eibusha, that's the mitzvah.
Why did it?
As in the Eibusha. Yeah. Not because the Hashpah needs it. The Hashpah itself, it doesn't need it. I mean, it's a dark. There is a dark of tzimtzum with the way we see it, and there's the way because in Slavish life in a certain seder that it doesn't make sense for things to just happen just like that. But Parnasa from Ayid comes from as a dark. Parnasa comes from the Eibusha himself. And it's at that dark that there's no agos. There's no need for any tzir. There's any govadi. There's any chadav chutzim. What did I say here? באמס כל אך ורק מהקדוש ברוך הוא. באין תפיסת מקום לשום דבר שחוצים. It's not able. And Israel is no mitzvah. It's not limited by anything. So why is it a person has to do something? You say because in order for them has it to work, they has to mischashav. It doesn't mischashav with anything. They should do something. Because that's also that goof is the they should do something.
And then Padah should come to
Yeah, that's the tzibur. Yeah. And the main of the person's heritage is is kavanah so ach kedei lekayin tzibur b'shvach b'rach hashem l'kel kol hashatas shesh yom tavet l'sik v'asik kom l'avta. Not fabric. Yeah, the living soon, order 26. Yochel yeshiv bottle. What's the happening? Yochel yeshiv. Does the happening? Be'etzim mitzad hashpa, mit ha'gan sheshtam. Be'etzim mitzad the Inyan. And Talmud blame and the pasuk says b'chol hashatas. Not to be svardy afterward. The svardy, the Yiddish is not limited in anything. The Azayat the Tedek is nothing. Not fabric. So the pizza comes out that what's the whole? There's technology smoking to the cave. That's the Yisrael. Doesn't fit up. It's lazy about shading. Not only the etzem this is a pure. The washing of the is what's a pure. Lazy about shading the es mashpah barak mamay. It's not the whole mice of enim elakeli kabbalah the berachas Hashem. Interesting. Good. There brings it. Al derech kli Hashem and the nes alisha. Shkoli don't know how you like Hashem and Nisa. I'm saying the legal. You have common finding of kelim. You have kelim al derech the ayin agashmi to the kelim. Which that the kelim needs to have a levush, and it makes it misfish levush. Then you have the kelim. The Elisha said, told the Isha over there, kelim reikin she had the chvesa only one chvesa this little shemen, and he told her kelim reikin she should continue pouring shemen. Kelim reikin matamim. So imagine they said that the kelim when she put more kelim that was getting more shemen. The Inyan putting more pots doesn't bring more oil. So no one's going to say that the levush was mahani was taking smoking for the ashpa. You could put 100 pots. Pots don't create oil. And the pile, but what were the pots? But the pile, he made a tonight. The pile when she had no more kelim, vayam et Hashem. So at dark piece and everything, but there it's less just balazet tegeis. And the way you're going to say balazet tegeis that he made the mess. And he said that when the hashpas, hashemen, is totally in the kabbalah. So you can say al derech as we get to Padah. It means the hashpa comes on my attack. And al derech like the shemen of Elisha, you can make the biggest business in the world. That's not a reason for you to make $100,000 business that you make. But l'payil, in order for but you need but the hashpa doesn't come on my but you have to have a big pot. By Elisha, according to the Kamas, according to the Medid of the Shiur of Kaplan, that's how much the nest was nimshah. That's the mitzvah. So the pile, even though no one's going to say that the ashpa was mitzad the kelim, or that the kelim is a mahani somewhat in the ashpa, but the pile, the kamas ashpa, was totally in the kamas that they cleanse yachol hakab. So there is some hakbol in the ashpa mitzad the hakab. So the Rebbe says parnas is nicht das. It's something that question is out. The Eibusha wants to give a person $1,000, but and the Eibusha says. So maybe it's under like Elisha. The pug, you have to have a pocket that can handle $1,000. You have to have a business that could bring in income $1,000. But if you have a business that you're selling during the chveis, you sell 3 pencils that you cannot raise the price. So you get this game. Not because al derech like by Elisha that the shemen had nothing to do with the kelim. But the pug, when there was no more pots, the pug would stop because the kamas of the nest was totally in the kamas kelim. It's like the Rebbe Snishtas in Bashpol. Because that also is a piece of smoking to the kelim. We don't need the eichos hakeli, but the kamas hakeli is negel. You have a mekabel. The Padah the Eibusha said that it should go through here. So that means he's saying it should come here. That means it has to be big enough to be mechol dashva. So that is nicht das. He says eliyesra hakeli. Shigam hakelim she'en lang shir zafilu b'turkei levushim. Even as levushim, they have no shirs. That's the Shemen the kelim. The Shemen does not need pots. The Eibusha wants to give a person Shemen doesn't need pots, doesn't need everything. If I was to do this, eine Eisem is Elam nach Mestzira HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Im Keller in Tfeilim legamli leberachas Hashem shibrach Shalom derech hatev legamli. This is what it is. The Rebbe is saying about it, basically. It's simple. nothing outside of the Eibishter, and there's nothing that could contribute to it, and there's nothing in there's nothing in Welt that has any tfisa smak in the Gabi. Why do you have to make, and not even the Gabi Lisha is naive that there is some tfisa smoking to the Kamos of the Gabi. As a levush, you're giving an Inyan, but it has to be the skabel and a certain levush. Levush is not, it's just the Kabbalah, just the pocket. But even that, without killing the fish. Because the Gemara because the Chazal did to rain, and by rain there's no levush. Comes on Mila without any to the smoke. So the shaila. So we're going to see. So what's this is going to be the gear to what we learned in the Chanukah, in the Berachim. There's no mitzvah from both. That's because there is a thing told. And this gufa to get to a fan. Let's get to the bar. Omna makor is the gufa shlisi beis fan. That's the machlekes shebirchnan with Maamarim. Let's get to it. One thing is the ma'aseh adam ulevush yatava ein lem chashivus klal. No value at all. Not even a value as the levush for the no value at all. Chshem sheban hagen nisis. Nere the nigle bepel shechuk yatava ein lem mitzias klal. There's no mitzvah. There's just whatever he wants. Had if I say how I fit manish, ugam kasher ashpa ma'ak. There's one ubad in levush yatava. What's the duk me'amon Shiur and Hashemayim? Exactly like Mon. It means hashpa, the even hashpa that comes to that person. There is which there is mamish al derech like Mon. You see the reason there's this up. That's one way. So according to this, it comes out that way. But there's no tfisa smoking to the bush. The bush is garnished. They mishgeis, but there's no mitzias to the bush. The bush has no tfisa smoking. It's both. Aderech like man that comes from Hashemayim. So you wake up in the morning and there's bread for you. There was bread and then there's no mitzvah. The levush also did it to me. You say Maamarim it wasn't mubal in the Kamas l'chol. There was no medida klal like the kelim of the Ashba. It was everything came on. And the Inyan was nik according to what the Eibishter wants, not according to how much you collected, and how much you this, and not physically the other, not even as a levush had to. Only what he wants. So what do you have to do? As it is. In other words, the mitzvah is garnished. It's bottled to the Inyan. That's the first thing. The second thing is av shemaisi odem v'akeli sheisi mitzad atzmam, mitzad their own yichis, velt mitzad atzmai. The Eibishter doesn't need velt. But machmas tzivah Hashem gufa yesh lo nishim. She'odem is kind of saying the other reason is even though mitzad atzmai, the loaf is garnished, but mitzad kavanah yen tanim velt gufa is a imun. It's the couple of mitzvahs.
What's the difference between this dag and Nisha?
Dag before?
Nisha.
Even the first thing is not Nisha. No. Mitzad atzmai is garnished. Mitzad atzmai is al derech man mamish. No. There, at least in the pile, it wasn't like Mon. The Shem needed the bush. But at least the Shem needed the bush.
Because
the pile is she's getting oil. Oil has oil can is not going to go on the floor. You need a keli for it. And he didn't make a nest that it should be in a small keli. Should be more oil than the keli should have. It was a limited nest. Here, the Bashpal Ma'ala Be'etzim does not need any. It's out there like Man Mamash. That the kamas of how much you're going to collect and how much your plate is big is not. The Gufini. But after we came, so what? So I mentioned to get Parnas is garnished. It means a person has a business, he doesn't think a moment about his business. It's garnished, can't that the Eibishter does. The second thing is since that's what the Eibishter wants, we don't know why this is what the Eibishter wants. So this is what he wants, he sees in them Gufa in it. They Gufa get actions. I'm saying is just the Kudas of the we'll see the brother that touches race, but like the Maamarim of the brother Shalom, mitzad Eretz Hashemayim Shach L'Shalosh, there is no belt. Belt is belt. Mitzad Primis Adik, there's a belt. He's also belt. Not that there's no belt. Mitzvah Matzeh, he is the mitzvah of everything. Not that there's only him and there's nothing else. Everything which exists is him. There's only him, but what's the pshat? Only him. Not that there's only him and everything else ceases to exist. Because there's only him, so whatever exists is him. That's the other thing we saying here also. Not speaking the same type of language, the same type of thing. The first eifin is, you're getting excited, I mentioned the word later. When are you going to get out of this Brahman thing that the Padah, that's the color word. Huh?
Science ain't did it.
Sounds of it. My Sicha, huh? I know, I'm just a little bit. You started the small, so I decided I'll make it a full chiyuv. My Sicha, which I tell you, what's the So what's the first day? It's nishtakim. They have no value at all. There's no chshivas at all. I was saying in the Hergish Navel, a person going to work, he's not doing anything that has any value. His business to make certain watches, no value at all. The pile has the same mitzvah and Torah, that's what he's doing. The second day, since my son is garnished, but machmas tzivei Hashem gufa, yesh lehem chshivas. Means there's a chshivas to the gate. Shal yodam miskayim retzei yizbar. What's the chshivas? Not a chshivas because the Eibusher wants it. So now it's important to the business that it makes. This mitzias through them gufa elukus is miskayim mitzvah. It's not that the Eibusher. It's one of the reasons that the Eibusher gewollt, and we don't understand why we have to do these things. It's not understand. Or this is the way. This is the ratzon. The ratzon is not only das nishtakim, that the world itself is also in Inyan the kind of ratzon. That's in Inyan of the bush itself. Let's see the signal. Hamuna shleidi vados gemura shakol barak makadosh baruch. B'meila we're talking about makadosh baruch hu shivnu la'akel. Miyoti hamlei absuchak deisha baruch. That's the one. Meila snish. I feel even if it's levush, it's nicht after sein. We're talking about also mit Eibusher. Aber gam Inyan zeh shegevroch atziva sheyase ma'aseh b'zeh b'teva. Das hu yedeh shegam zeh b'kavon mchuberes. V'hainu leido lahaka shegam ateva atzmei. Masiyas ha'odem b'zeh. Boi yiti yizbar. Mevad etzem hashkosh b'makadosh baruch. But neisef to the fact, as Altkun from the Eibusher, it's negeya that teva itself is also the Eibusher says that. Not that the teva is bottle, that it's garnished. That teva and a person exist, and they also come from him. That's the Altkun.
John in 32.
Yeah, so after we'll have to see the truth is the
That's for character. The Eibusher wants a touch, and now wants.
there's two kavanas. She kavanas ma'asamatim. First of all, back Hashem she's lachazde. Then B is basak ma'asamatim yichav and shemayim and shashem b'derech Hashem is kishad nisma b'liv. You know what it is? And if this eifin is out there at the first day, then he's mamshach later. Ela shoesim levush kikach ratzon alim baruch hu is out there at the second day.
So it says, why does Eibusher want it? That should be held master.
So that's just a dogma that the pile he has to also be master that the ma'aser teva is also b'tei ratzon. That's the good of it. Not the beauty that is in there is that why do you have to make a levush for the halav haster hashpah? But they're saying the pile, the one eifin is he's thinking about mom. South come from Maamarim. He's not thinking about what he's doing. One Aveda is lamreise you're involved, so it's the hand that ain't allowed. The Aveda is to be mavatal. As Zayd says, what does it say is, don't think about the world. That's the Aveda of a Yid. That's the Yesdu Panas. To be in the world, but to remember that ain't allowed. Be mavatal zandal. The other is not to be mavatal. To see that what's the world itself is bami. The Metzias of El Guf is also an expression of Inyan. Let's put that. Let's say, what's the Avedas Adam Alei Adam? That he's living in a world. The world Lepel presents all as a Metzias. His Aveda is to be Megala Sinishtaze. That belt is garnished. That's one way, and that's gonna be reflected itself in the way when a person does Parnasa, that's another way of being in the world. You're doing something. You're doing this belt. But what's up for the bench? To realize it's all garnished. That's the question. That's everything else on my way. And Velt there's no piece of smuggling. And the Aveda is not to give any chshivas to your work. Not to be involved in it. Not to see any chshivas in it. Then what's the person's Aveda in the world? To bring God that the world is bottled. That's one of it. And then when you're doing it, when you're working, that's part of being in the world. Part of being in the world, laying in bed, plus being in the world, doing the things that a person in the world does. But what's the Aveda being in the world? To bring out that it's going to be involved. The second is the Aveda is not to be involved. The Aveda is to bring out that what is Welt itself, Welt itself comes from English. What is Welt? Welt is the Ashlam of Ratzon. That's the Metzias of Welt. It's a different Hakadosh again.
There's no chiluk in that keel that you're going to make depending on which.
No, you're saying on the middle lights.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not getting it.
I'm saying first the Lamas before we get into the poem. I'm saying the Lamas is, what's the second? Second, if it is, means not that Gosh before is, but I never said before that the reason it's good because that's what the English wants. There is not that Gosh is not because that's the Inyan of the Maisi Adam is Kim Tzidash. That's not the good is to be Mavato. You're working, there's no the purpose and the Aveda, which is the manner of a person is doing in the Parnas is that part that has nothing to do with what he's doing. So why are you doing it? That's the English wants. Not that the middle with this and the kind of that's not that Gosh, more the head, more the bittul. And the second ifin is that Gosha is this is what the English wants, and this is what's making a business. Kiyum not selling, that's making a business. In midem labor, so what's that? What's the good of the year? Not that there's nothing besides the age. That whatever exists is the age. You're saying what's enough given? We'll see the. So I'm saying that's the Rebbe says in the Sicha. He brings the we don't have the Sicha, but he brings there when he's speaking about months when I mention when he's working, he's going to work. So one thing he says that we have to think about that is like a Maamarim Hashemayim. That's what you have to think about. According to that is bonus. That's the first thing. It's Maamarim Hashemayim. I was does that design this bonus? Hagam working, it's nothing. It's like Maamarim Hashemayim. The second thing he says is that Gam said that you have to work is that's that's where the second thing.
What about the why? You said there. Why is there as a
That's not that question. That's not the point. They're saying that's an Indian.
Only according to the second beer can you call it a bush, Shu Isel a bush.
No.
So what's Amshaman Shel Shu Isel a bush, Kaplan and Ellie. What? At the end of our work.
This is a quote from the. There he says, there in the first when he brings the first one, I said to think about when you go to Ramon. It doesn't be. You have to ignore the bush.
Right.
The second thing you deal with the fact that the Abishah told me to do something, that itself has a purpose. And in other words, also the first thing, the purpose in the first Eifen is to ignore it. The second Eifen, you have to realize that there's a certain Inyan Elokim which is expressed through this.
Even in the first Eifen, even though the Hadgosh of the fact that obviously Welt is nothing.
Yeah.
But the
Why
other
didn't it
part,
work?
no, the other part of understanding that in the end of the day, the only Milo, not Milo, but the fact that the Abishah chose that this is how it's going to happen. Right, it has nothing to do with it.
No.
But Pearl Teva, but because that's what the Abishah decided, so now this thing is going to be Pearl Best.
It's not this thing. That's the Abishah.
But the Abishah decided that this thing
that's
they're not bringing out that Welt is just because that's what the Abishah decided.
That there is no Welt. There's only what he wants. According to the first bit, there's only what he wants. He can go on whatever he wants. Why do I have to explain? I don't have to say that in Inyan, there is no Welt no Chatchila. There is no get. According to the second beer, there is a Getter of Welt. And what is that itself? What is working? What is this phenomenon of a person going to work in a place and putting his mind into creating some place, an idea? That itself is in the key. According to the first statement, there is no such a thing. There's no person, there's no garnish stuff. There's Ratzna, whatever he wants, that's what exists, that's something else. The whole Mitzvah of Welt is only because he wants, not that it has a value. Not that there's a gather of a world which he's expressed through that gather. I say you can say the simple case. You say that a person wants something not because this thing has value. So there's mitzvah that in it. There's no chshibis in the mitzvahs. That's what I'm saying. There's no person wants 10 cups just because that's what he wants. Not because he likes cups. Not because not because cups has a value. It's that there is no definition of cups. There's his ratzon. His ratzon is point to do something. There's no gather from mitzvahs outside of his ratzon. According to the second Eifen, there is a gather of mitzvahs. Mitzad his ratzon, there's a gather of avot. And there is a world of Shemayim, there's artists, there's chukei hateva. What is that mitzvahs? It's also it. You look in that's the Adam Signal. There is, in other words, there is teva. look at the Rebbe's base. Siva Hashem Gufa Yesh Lahem Chshivas. What's the Rebbe's word? Yesh Lahem Chshivas. Mitzat Siva Hashem, there is a gather of a world. There's a Shemayim, there's an artist, there's rules of nature. It does exist. That Guf is that Guf is Ratznalim. Because we say start to the sas. The first beer is only Ratznalim. So what's working? Ratznalim. The second beer isn't only Ratznalim. There's Ratznalim, and when the Eibush will sein a Welt, and the world should have Klolim, and the Klolim should be that if a person has a bigger business, bring to America. Bechitzeni is, so that's the Chodev Mitzias. A does Guf is the Ratznalim. The Gather of Welt Guf is him. It's the same him as Maamarim Shloime. I'm saying, what's that saying by Mitzvah Yimatz B'Chol Mitzvah Shkolim Mitzvah? A Mitzvah Yimatz is Tachlis Ein Sof. And he's the Mitzvah of everything. It means there's a Shemayim, and there's an Eretz. The Eibusher is Ein Sof. He's everything. It's a different story. Ratzna Elin is not expressed only in the Tenuah that there's only Ratzna Elin. That everything is about Ratzna Elin. Even the fact that a person has a Chshivas, that's good as Ratzna Elin. See, if you say it in the simple expression, you'll say the fact that if the Eibusher wants, that a person should yet be a davar chashuv, and he should yet build himself, let's say. But that goes should be mitzad haratzon. Mitzad haratzon should have a chshivas. According to the second beer, the musig of working is exactly the way a person in Master works in this world. How am I going to make money if it's not going to work in this? The Eibusher made these clothes. And according to that beer, it's true. But the whole on them guf is the same Ratzna Elyon as the. It's not a spirit that the fact that everything comes online. The Ratzna Elyon is not only his bat and the true of bittul Mitzias. Even in Yem Mitzias, it's all about him. That's the Mitzvah Matzi one Mitzvah Shloime.
So Maamarim is getting more money because he has a bigger business?
No. There's nothing outside of Ratzna Elyon. So also this gather of Mitzias that you have to make a levush, that guf is in your Ratzna Elyon. Yeah, that was verstehen. Let's see the
first day from the Chitzeni is to have a student.
Yeah, that's you have to be mevakul. That's what it says. You're supposed to be mevakul together with them. The second, I think, you are mischash together with them. But what's the whole Mitzias of Welt? The Eibusher's Ratzon. What is Welt? The Eibusher's Ratzon.
He did like more than an hour.
In a way, it's about it. Out is understood. There's only his Ratzon. There's no other Mitzias. Here we're saying mitzad his Ratzon in the Mitzias, Ifrana Mitzias, and what's in Yoni at period this Mitzias, his Ratzon. That's a different thing. We'll see the let's just see the end of the Gemara, and then we'll see we'll see more of the pratis as well. Just finish this part. Shloime shein beiz ifan mafter shelo pranas and shelo mafter b'fnei atzmei, ishu b'chol mafter shani. And then that's the sword. Rabbi Yochanan gshamim na mehane pranas ki kol bushat. Rabbi Yochanan der seder aveda. That's off no mile. Ki kol bushat der chimais other should say ain't that a smoking club. The only thing is the Eibusher gave. But how come Ashton to be yacht? And in a parnasa, kol meiser is in prat bash was a gishbar cholava. As it in the world. There's no shivas to the meiser. My Rabbi Amri at parnasa guvak. The hanish gam meiser adam is a bay makadosh baruch hu. Inim b'fnei atzma. That's the machlekes. We can hold that meiser adam doesn't exist at all. There's only Ratzna Elyon. And meiser adam is garnished the body. The second Ma'aseh Adam does exist and does contribute, but there does go for that Ratzon. Also, Ma'aseh Shelo Adam, Parnas, which is Ma'aseh Adam, that's also on a Shliach. It's the Eibusher himself. Mafter Rebbe Shakash Baruch. He said, "Why should Ma'aseh Adam is a boy Ma'akesh Baruch Hu? Begin with Atzmi. The Gamzen Negiel ideas for a person. Shelo Bush Adam says something. Anyone Agdava Shelo Mitzvah with Atzmi. Kim Zed Gufa Ma'akesh Baruch. Not only that it's nothing, it's a tough Sazach. And Sazach that has a mitzvah if you ask me, but Zed Gufa by Hakadosh Baruch. The same Hakadosh Baruch which is not the middle of the name. Mit Mamshazem. Okay, this is also interesting. We should go to another sif. Okay, we'll do another sif. Never verstehen. We're just scratching the surface. But once you learn that, if you learn the Sicha Stanazi, it's hard to retain as when you learn those Maamarim, it gives a different time and في زمن بور גם הקשר בעלי הפרק. אומר חז"ל, זה אינטרסנט הזה. What it says, ויחנו בחורים, ניסים נעשו. Two notes. שם שיש במיון א', הרי זה מעיד על נס. שם שיש ביש מיון אחד, הרי זה מעיד על ארבע ניסים. Okay. So עכשיו, what does it mean if you see יחנו? You see that יחנו, you see the letters יחנו. Shakatai, no? That's exactly what it means. Geen strelli, the Biechanon, since the Biechanon is missing, so the Panas and the Sham, Kimitza Gossa, Herfen Welt, Herfen Stachels, missing, had a lay, Colin Shell, Rax and Ashim. So it is Janes, any rack with our Shinil, we got the Shin of the That's the touch, missing this. So the Shama Hagas at Tavern, it's a Rax and Biechanon, and the Primus Rackness about me. Marova Omni is the Santa Tasha Tasha Marova. Mafteach, Shoksham, Mafteach, בפני עצמי. Marova Pirushai, a certain place in the world, Makam Sevail. West. Omer Azal, Shechina B'mayim. It's the Shechina B'mayim. L'chura Molekul Aretz Kved. L'hainish Av, Shemolekul Aretz Kved. Omer Azal, this is our point. Shekol Mitzias HaMakim. The whole gather of Makim is Batling. It's not what I'm saying, maybe she's saying say. Because Kim Shechina B'mayim. Shemokim Zeh Yesh B'Ashram Yuchenes. Ashem Mitzias HaMakim Gufu Holocaust. That's that question. There is a definition of Makim. And in Yoni of this Makim is Shechina. That's the Nekudah Marava. Mitzad B'Yechanan, there's only him. So there's none of the Rebishter. Mitzad Marava, there is not, it's not, there's him in his own self. There's a gather of Makim. There's a gather of Avel, which in Yoni is Gvul, let's say. And the Yoni of that Gvul is a Lucas. The Metzias of that Makim Gufu Lucas. Not as Sedon Nar Er. Sedon Nar Er, and this Er is out. Not just Lila. He's the everything, the Metzias of everything is him. The Metzias of Makim, there's Dalet Ruches, and the Metzias of that Ruach, there's a gather of Ruach. The Eibishter is not Dalet Ruches, the Eibishter is the same same. Here was a different touch. There is Dalet Ruches, and what's the Metzias of the Ruach? Elukus. That's out there as the second. There is a Maisei Adam, and the Metzias of Maisei Adam is Elukus. L'chein Bnei Marava Sfiru, their Inyan is this Aveda of Bnei Marava, שגם לבוש הטבע, פרנס העניינים בפני עצמי שביד לשלוח כשבור. It's not a question. You're saying how it plays out there, Parnas and Padah. But according to this, Alder, we're seeing a member of the Shalom, that mitzad, the darga of Atik, it's Malchus and Malchus and Tnu of Aliyah. Well, there's what? Ashtaking mitzad previous Atik is the belt the way the world is in Mitziyusah. And there's that goof as a lukus. We're looking at it that Seder Shtashalos is not a lukus. Mitzad Seder Shtashalos, we're living in a world. Mitzad Chukei Abriya, people have to work in order to make parnasa. Chukei Abriya is also lukus, or it's a dover which doesn't exist. First, if it is mitzad, it's up to the Maamarim from Migadar. The Gabe ends up in Shtakinot. Or mitzad the etzem, which is not ein sof. Mitzad the etzem is everything is him. And mitzad that target in yoni of the tchunas ha'elam gufa. In Inyan Maamarim is there's saying much more, not just Inyan Maamarim is that's more than the Tzaltzaddik says that there also be the Biyurim that he says there. Mitzias of the levush gufa is a lukus. I say that doesn't touch up the who in b'fnei atzmai, which is beyond the Shlach Kedvar.
I remember hearing it revealed being like a marshal, especially being a high level. I remember seeing it in secret, I guess, from this Padah. Then he sits across with the
Yeah, there's no people here.
He said, you made a marshal of Makim, which is Mahavik. Pointing to be to made, the Shamish to made there. The whole season of Makim is just the Shamish to made.
That's not that's the that's the a bit.
That's the dinner about
A bit.
You remember
This much I don't know much.
it's brought into the wrong places.
Maybe she asked me.
It's just
Read the muscle of the Shamish not coming for itself.
no, he's saying.
The place is created
He's
just
mere
to be
more
made.
graphic, yeah. No, but this word that there is mitzias about, but shemitzias hamokim gufa all of this. There's a ship. V'chem enosh gam hoshetah b'hem inyan. It's an Inyan, and that Inyan gufa is beyond the shlach world. Is all this. You're saying that the Padah comes at a difference. Whether you're being shayla together, or there is a shibis. The part of this person's business is to make leather, and his business is something else. And so the first dark is a difference. There's no shibis at all. The only aveda is bittul. So the second dark that he's a midas in motzei of a midas, the mitzias of chveis working in a garden is holocaust, and the mitzias of chveis with that business holocaust.
Oh, it's not actual. His ask was to be more.
You're saying that in your kavanah salva. You're saying in the kavanah.
What do you mean the conversation? Is there what? Does a person need to be more
Involved.
involved?
Isn't that something?
Doesn't know.
So the thing is that can be the chef.
You're saying if there's something that was the pale, what's the point?
No.
The thing is that
Or is the child that must have? What's the relevance? Is the big child that must have? No. So you're saying what's the difference in kavanah salva?
the thing is that can be the chef is coming. The chef from the Asia is after coming to the city because this has a certain mile. But that allows the close.
Not because. I was not saying because. It's not limited at all. The fact that the Abish just said, every phenomenon in Bel is a luz. So the phenomena that Parnasa comes through work, that's a phenomenon that's in the Lakitu. It's not a phenomenon that doesn't exist. It does exist. Not that's needed. The phenomena is you have to work in order to make money. There's no need for it. But this phenomena is something that there's a certain inner key expressed in this phenomenon. According to this first there's no such phenomenon before. You have to do stuff, but there's nothing to learn over here. There's no subject of Parnasa going through work. It's just rationality. Secondly, there is such a subject. But that's learn, that's verstehen. And there's in the key that's both the bit ideas, not a need. There is such phenomena that Parnasa comes through a job. We'll see it in the Chayil, that's in Aveda is Chayil. How can we spiel the Gabi as someone doing Parnasa? That's not was concerned with the